So basically what I'm going to show you guys is how to build a PC. And because I got so many good parts this past week, $28 bin, the 8 parts of GPUs that I got, $300. I mean, I roughly spent maybe, you know, 400 or just under 400 in this past week on straight computer parts, because I am going to stack up and build them throughout the year, and some of these are going to give me some good returns. This one, an example that I'm going to be showing you guys, is a PC for under $100. That is correct. A computer for under $100, a gaming PC, one that is still current to this date, that you can use and build for yourself games. I'm going to be comparing this PC to some games on the PS5, and I'm going to show you how this less than $100 PC performs alongside the PS5. And I know the PS5 is $500. I know you can't even get that right now. It's more like 700-ish to 800 depending where you are. But this right here is like a PC you can build yourself, and I'm going to show you guys how to do it. I have a POV GoPro, and then I have my 4K camera over there. So basically what you have with is a case that you choose, and I'm going with a Cooler Master ATX case. And what you do is you start removing these panels. We're going to put them off to the side. I'm going to bring up this case. This is a case that I'm working with. Like I said, it's a Cooler Master. It's got USB 3.0 in the front, reset button, aux, headphones, and microphone. You got fan cases for the top, fan and leaks the exhaust. This is a full ATX case. It's already got my power supply installed. I'm not going to show you guys how to do it, but it's pretty simple. You just put the power supply to the back or bottom, depending where it is. Some have it on top, but in this one it's at the bottom. And basically this bottom, you just screw them in and line them up. This motherboard CPU combo right here, this is the Intel i7 2600K. Yes, it's a little old, but it's still very good. But this is still very usable. For example, like Battlefield 2042 might struggle with this even with the latest RTX GPUs. But for most common AAA titles, this is perfectly fine. You're still going to be able to hit 60 FPS, and if you have a 4K monitor, usually at 4K the CPU is not the bottleneck, it's the GPU. And I'm going to be pairing this with 16 gigs of Ballistic X RAM plugged in at 1600 megahertz. This is DDR3. Yes, it's a little older, but because it's used, it's so cheap. I'm going to be putting an SSD. It might not be this one, 180, but I would like it to, because it just goes with the red and black that we have going on here. If not, I will be using SSD for storage. I will plan on using a 2 terabyte hard drive, but I might not do it in this installation video. I actually want to install the cooler. Got an RGB, just a cheap cooler, nothing too special. It is RGB, that's what's cool about it. Other than that, nothing really to brag about, it's just an air cooler. So I'm going to show you guys how to install RAM really quickly. Usually you check and align to see where this gap is, and then you'll see on the board right here there's gaps as well, and then you just line them up right here. You see there is no gap up here, so this is when it goes. You flip it around and you see that the gap aligns, and that's how you know this is the way it's supposed to go. Now a lot of people like putting it on the 2nd and 4th slot if you only have 2 sticks. If you have one, you know, you can put it on the 2nd slot and it's fine, but if you choose to put it on any of these slots, it will work. So you just want to push them down so you hear a click on both sides, as you can hear it. That's how you know you installed it correctly. And then for this, we're only going to use 2 8 sticks, 8 and 8, that's 16 gigs of RAM, and that's installed perfectly fine. Okay, once they're in there, that one in there. Okay, once you got them in, you just press them. One popped in through, no problem. Another one popped in through. This one also popped in through. There we go. This you peel back. Basically a clean stainless steel pressure holder for it. Got it installed. Once there, you want to apply this thermal paste. You don't want to put too much, but in this case, because the edges aren't covered, I will put a little bit more than usual. The part that's tricky is installing this cord. then I'll hook it to one end. Once that's hooked up, and I'll connect it to the other end. There we go. And just like that, it's plugged in. And I'll hook it up to these two pin headers. Boom, and there you go. This is our CPU cooler. Once we have this, we want to align this to all these right here so that we can screw these gaps in. Okay, we'll just screw that in and we confirm the board is not moving out. Boom, push it in. There you go, how quick that. Then we want to connect our power source, which would be right here, this 24 ATX. This 980 Ti. Which is insane. It is the Strix version. I can't believe I got this for $28. Just like this. I'll connect our GPU like so. Boom. And this is GTX 980 Ti. I'm going to peel. And then we're going to line it up to the first PCIe lane, like so. Boom, connected, perfectly fine. I'm going to use the SATA 6 gigabit ports. So I'm going to touch on these ones that we don't need on back here so that they don't bother. And as you can see here, we have finished. The less than $100 PC is complete, and moment of truth. Bam. Doesn't that look nice? For less than $100, you have a completely working computer. Now stick around for the benchmarks and I'll show you what this PC is capable of. I will be testing games in 4K as well. Okay, so the first game we have is Kenya Bridge of Spirits. We're running this at 1080p max settings. Don't worry guys, I will be doing 4K as well. It's just my capture card only captures at 1080p and won't let me upgrade the resolution to 4K. Now some of the stutters that you saw here is because I'm running the games off a SATA SSD external hard drive that I have hooked up to the USB ports on the PC. So that's why when you're loading in a new level or sometimes new textures that pop up, texture streaming could cause some stuttering. But other than that, this is like a raw performance pretty much of the game. You saw there, just 60 FPS, smooth like butter. Next game we have here is Hitman, and as you can see it's running at 1080p as well, max settings, and it's just smooth completely, just 60 FPS. If you take a look up the top left corner, that's where you can see all the stats, and as you can see the GPU isn't even maxed out. So I went ahead and disabled VSync so we can see what the raw performance of this is, because it can indeed get higher than 60 FPS, and as you see there, it just shoots up to around 100 easily. This 980 Ti is still a beast and can handle modern games and anything you pretty much throw at it, and as you're gonna see, this game runs
well on 4K as well. Most of these games pretty much do. Some might need a little bit of tweaking, but for the most part, this can indeed play games at 4K. Okay, and the next game here we have is Lego Star Wars. More of a lighter game, but you know, at 1080p max setting, this just shoots to like 200 FPS. You know, easily over 144. If you have a 144 hertz monitor, you can, you know, play this with no problem at all. And you know, I just thought I'd throw this in here to show you, you know, all the types of games that you'd be able to run on this, and this is no problem. I mean, over 200 FPS. I don't think anyone would complain with that, you know. And just for the amount that I got this PC for is just insane. Okay, and here we move on to the 4K benchmarks, just showing you guys Resident Evil 7. You know, at 4K, just to prove it to you, there's the resolution. We have it at 60 hertz as well, because the monitor that I'm using is 4K at 60 hertz. Not a lot of people have 4K 144 hertz or 120 hertz monitors, because they're just really expensive. If I had one, I would show you guys, but I myself don't even play at 4K. I still play at 1440p 165 hertz, just because, you know, I don't care too much about 4K that much. But you know, if you can play at 4K and you have that, that's awesome, good to you. But you know, this is playing natively at 4K resolution, no upscaling like the PS5 does. The only graphically intense scene was here when I entered the house in the kitchen. For whatever reason, just tanked the frames on the GPU. But other than that, this was running stable 60 FPS at 4K. The next game I got here is Kenya Bridge of Spirits, 4K max settings. And as you can see, this kind of does struggle to hit just 30 FPS. I know the PS5 has 4K at 30 FPS for Kenya Bridge of Spirit, but that PS5 does use upscaling methods similar to NVIDIA DLSS and AMD Super Resolution. That's one of the things that this GPU does lack, is that newer technology like NVIDIA DLSS. If not, this would have been easily over 30 FPS, if not 60 with some settings. So after tweaking some of the graphic settings, I was able to get Kenya over 30 FPS. You know, it didn't really take that much because everything was max. I just turned down some of the settings, as you can see there. That actually was settings that I tried again to see if I can accomplish something, you know, in like 60. But you know, Kenya Bridge of Spirits won't be able to be played at 60. It realistically might do 4K 30. I would personally maybe lock it to 30 at max settings, but I just couldn't get anything closer to 60, so I just kept everything around like high to medium, and I was able to push more than 30 FPS, which for Kenya, I think in Kenya Bridge of Spirits, I think playing at 60 would be amazing. But 40 or anything just over 30 FPS is perfectly fine for Kenya. 30 looks a little choppy. Maybe it might be me because I've been playing so long on PC that 30 FPS just looks choppy to me. And then finally, I just ended here at Hitman, again at 4K, and everything max, just like as you saw there. And you know, this is running perfectly over 30 FPS, no problems at native 4K. If you guys have a 4K monitor, you know how sharp these resolutions are, and you know, this is easy peasy for this PC. Nothing wrong here. Everything over 30 doesn't dip below it. And yeah, that's what I have for the benchmark. Let me know what you guys think. Now I just want to break down the cost for you guys, you know, to get an idea. Paid $30 for the power supply, paid for a pack of 3 fans, roughly around $15. And then I paid 28, but I know the listing says $40. We agreed on 28 in person. And then, you know, I just bought a cheap, you know, $10 cooler. You know, roughly the cost of all of this is $85. I paid less than that, but you know, considering the fact that I'll just throw in what I paid for the fans, what I paid, you know, what the listing says, this is still less than $100 for everything you see here. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. And if you guys would like to buy the PC, I'm going to leave a link down below where you guys can buy it. US only currently for right now. And if you guys would go ahead and check out my socials, I'd appreciate it. I'm trying to get 1,000 followers. And if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Thank you guys so much. I'll catch you guys in the next one.